Okay, I am the possessor of the light beam. What if I could do two things at one time?
Can you turn your phone off? Silent. That's one of the first things. One thing that we first and foremost do.
It just goes in the bag.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Maureen Sobolewski. I'm the commander here at Post 40 and like to welcome each and every one of you to our post. I'm so happy you're here. I would like us all to stand and do a pledge of allegiance, please.
Patriarch, present, go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, in liberty and justice for all. If I can have my chaplain, James Bradwell, please say a prayer for your ceremony.
Post color.
We'll go to the Lord in prayer. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have given us, the many blessings that you pour out upon us. Lord, we thank you for these young men and women that have dedicated their time to run, to remind us of the fallen, those that gave their utmost for our nation and service to it. And Lord, as we come to a ceremony here, we ask you to be with those bringing the special presentation. We thank you for Post 40 and the works that are done. Lord, as we come together also, we thank you for a meal that's been prepared and ask you to let it be a blessing and nourishment for our bodies and your works. In your name we ask. Amen.
Can I use your box too?
Thank you, maybe see.
Just leave it right there.
Use that box. I'm going to use that box. Just take the flag out of it.
I'd like to address you on behalf of the North Carolina chapter of Honor and Remember. We've been following this team since they came in on the South Carolina line, and tomorrow they go into Virginia. And we were honored to have them. And I would like to just take a couple of moments to say something about the team. We all know why we're gathered here, for all the names that were called out. And we will be honoring those names again tonight, and that's all we'll be talking about. But I don't see it fitting for you who are not on the team and have not been with these people to truly honor the names that will be called later without knowing something about the team that has come in here. So I want to say a few words about this team and introduce you to them. And I don't want to miss anything, so I'm going to read what I wrote down generally. But this team is a machine. And the team giggles. A machine functions for the specific purpose that it was created for. A machine is broken down into individual components. If taken apart, the components look nothing alike. Sometimes they don't even look like they fit together. Another good time to giggle. Thank you. But this machine, this team, is an internal combustion engine. Because I have seen them and the combustion that's inside them. The love, the respect, and the honor that they carry for this task that they have shouldered. They're burning with this desire to carry out this thing that they're doing and that we're finding about tonight, if you're not familiar with it. Once assembled, the components come together and you can see the machine work. Let me tell you the operating parts of this machine. George is the fuel of the machine. Put your hand up, George. I want everybody to know what I'm talking about. There's the fuel to the machine. Laura. Yeah, go ahead. Thanks. Laura, you're the oil of the machine. You keep this thing running smooth and make sure it makes it all, yeah, get it up there. The operators of the machine are Augie and Paulette. Where are they? That's right. Now this title's a little antiquated and some may know what it is and some may not, but the governor of the machine, that thing that controls the speed and efficiency is Kristen. Where are you? These are the core people of the team, but there's a few more. The pistons of the machine. Or anybody that has run in this event at any time, please stand. At any time, not just a day, but you've run in this. They're the pistons. They're the power, the energy of it. Thank you. And there's one piston that deserves a little extra note. This piston is not broken. It runs well, but occasionally it just revs up all of a sudden for no given reason and speeds up, and then all of a sudden you hear, as you work, and it stops. And that would be Sean. If you'd stand up for Sean and give great respect for this very individual piston that we have here. Thank you very much. As you were, Sean. If you create such a machine, you want to be sure that it is merchantable, that others will appreciate and use that creation. The advertisers of this machine, Keller and Teddy, where are you? Come on. There you go. That's the advertisers, and the salesman is Dan. Where's Dan? Back here. There's the number one salesman of this machine right here. Now, what I want us to remember and put this together in is a saying: to be truly human, you must be more than merely human, superhuman. That's what this machine is. It's not a machine for the sake of itself. It's not human. It's superhuman. And the results that have been compiled over these days, weeks, and months by this machine that we now know as human. But let me tell you a little bit about the spirit of this machine. This team has been in exile. We had talked about that earlier. Exile from their home, their family. Now, exile is not necessarily a bad place. Exile is a place where you grow the most. It's where you're out of your comfort zone and you're doing something maybe you've never done before. And the title I want to give to this team and to this gathering is Run with the Horses. And let me give you an idea of what running with the horses is. What is a horse? And this comes from the Message Bible, the book of Job, chapter 39, 19 through 25. Are you the one who gave the horse his prowess and adorned him with a shimmering mane? Did you create him to prance proudly and strike terror with his royal snorts? He paws the ground fiercely, eager and spirited, then charges into the fray. He laughs at danger, fearless, doesn't shy away from the sword. The banging and clanging of quiver and lance don't faze him. He quivers with excitement, and at the trumpet blast, races off at a gallop. At the sound of the trumpet, he neighs mightily, smelling the excitement of battle from a long way off, catching the rolling thunder of the war cries. These guys are the rolling thunder of what we're going to be talking about tonight. They have set a standard for us that I think we could all learn from and follow, especially in this evening of honor and remembrance. Psalm 119:32 says, I'll run the course you lay out for me if you'll just show me the way. From Eugene Peterson, the author of the Message Bible, there is only one thing needful, and there is only today in which to do it. Do it. Then do it again and again, persistently. not mindlessly, but with all the exuberance of an encore. Get a grasp of that thought, an encore. What is an encore? It's that continuing applause of appreciation for something because you appreciated what they did. And that's what we're doing with these names tonight. It's an encore. Maybe it's a first-time introduction or a reintroduction of these names to you. But let's do that with the exuberance of an encore, the excitement of that. Jeremiah 12:5. So, if you're worn out in this foot race with men, what makes you think you can race against horses? And if you can't keep your wits during times of calm, what's going to happen when troubles break loose? We're learning that message every day in the difficulties of the journey, building us, making us stronger for tomorrow. So, this team is setting a standard as a pattern for all of us to follow, for us to rise up and lift up those that have fallen. For us that are alive, the lesson exposes the terrible threat that we might die earlier than we really do die physically, before death itself has become a natural necessity. The real horror of life lies in just such a premature death, a death of uncaring for others, of unloving in our earthly existence, a death after which we may go on living for many years. You can fall into that category, or you can run with the horses. Thank you. George?
Just now. I hate following him. I really do. He's done this to us like 3 or 4 times already. It's just, you're just so eloquent. Thank you, for your words. And boy, Edenton, God bless you. Thank you so much. What an amazing welcome. Where's the commander of the post here? Back there. Thank you so much for welcoming us into your home and allowing us to have this opportunity tonight to share our message. We are so appreciative to go through a hard day. This was a long, hard day with some horrible weather today. We didn't expect to get completely drenched. We did. I mean, bone aching, soaked today, and then have to run 65 hero markers. And then have such a warm welcome. It is really means so much to us to come to a place at the end of the day, to feel welcome, to feel like we're in a place where people get it, they understand the message, and we can feel comfortable. So thank you. And the PGR for taking your time to come out and hold up those flags as you do so often for so many. Thank you for being out here and honoring us and taking your time to be here tonight for us. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. We have a few things to do tonight. One of them is to hear me for a few minutes, but we'll try to get past that quickly. So, how many of you know that we have a live feed broadcasting our all day, every day? Raise your hand if you know that. Okay, so most of you do know that. So we do. We have on our website, runforthefallen.org, we have a live feed. So anybody can watch us all day long as we have a signal. We had some signal breakdowns today, which we're never very happy about, but there's nothing we can do. So we have gaps of nothing, unfortunately. But we still take pictures, and we do have a backup video. So anybody who, family-wise, who wants to know what happened at a certain marker, we hope to be able to, once we post those, you'll be able to see those later on. But kind of why are we here? Bill, so wonderfully, stated the machine that got us here. And each one of those parts really we could not do without any of those parts. And we probably needed a few more parts that we don't have. But we all make up for that. But we're here because freedom comes at a very high cost, right? We all enjoy the freedoms that we have, and everyone who's not here, driving up and down Main Street there, still get to enjoy the freedoms that they have because of a very few. Those who decided to enlist in some branch of the armed forces and sign a blank check, basically, saying, you know what, I am willing to defend my country, my family, up to and including my very own life. And some of them do. Some of them give their lives so that others don't have to. And those families who raised those loved ones up or married them and their children deserve to be recognized. It's so easy for us as Americans. We have very short memories when it comes to being patriotic. And I know I'm not talking to those who understand, but evangelistically, I can say that 80% of our country really doesn't understand, maybe even 90%. They're not connected to the military, they never served, they have nobody that served, and that's a very large percentage of our country who just goes about living their lives, doing whatever they want to, and that's fine. I mean, that's really what being in a free country is all about. But yet, our contention is that if someone has given their life, the least that we can do as Americans is say thank you. You know, just appreciate that sacrifice. Now, we know that those men and women aren't here. They're gone. They gave their lives. We believe they're in a better place. But their families still are. Every one of those families for generations that have given us their loved one are still here, hoping for one really main, incredible idea, that their loved one not be forgotten. Just that they not be forgotten. So, 10 years ago, we started an organization called Honor and Remember. That organization was established to bring public national remembrance to the nation. Not to those that already understand and get it, but those who don't understand, and giving someone a way to say thank you. One of the things that has been really sad for us, I don't know how else to put it, is that we started this journey on April 7th in Fort Irwin, California, to end in Arlington National Cemetery on August the 5th. And I can't tell you how many sailors, soldiers, Marines, guardsmen, Coast Guardsmen, not many Coast Guardsmen, have lost their lives since we began the journey on April 7th. There's been a lot. I don't have that number. There has been a lot. And when there's a casualty, the most recent one was just in South Carolina, and I've spoken about this, is that the community and the surrounding region, everybody will hear about this individual who lost their life. And there'll be flag lines, and there'll be lines of people on the street with American flags in honor of that individual. I mean, because it's the latest news. You don't hear about it nationally, but you'll hear about it locally. And not everybody will know that individual, but they'll know something's happening and someone gave their life. And that's great. But a few months later, a few months after that, people may remember who that individual was, or they may not. If they were close to him, they probably would. But they won't know whether they had a mom or a dad that are still living, whether their mom and dad are still married, whether that individual was married, whether they had kids or not, whether they had brothers and sisters. There's a whole family unit out there that goes on and on. I've heard a statistic, I don't know if it's right, I'm going to throw it out there for you all to decipher, but I've heard that for every individual that dies, that gives their life, there's at least 14 other connected family members. So at least 14 other connected family members average. And that doesn't include the extended friends and those that may have known them. So what happens is we as a nation go on with our lives, right? Those Gold Star families in the room, those that have given loved ones for our country, can probably tell you stories about how even some of their own family members would wish that they went on. Didn't talk about it so much. You know, oh gosh, that's been a while. It's been months now. You're still talking about that. You know, I'm uncomfortable. And it's just the way our nation is. It's just, we want people to get on with their lives. We don't want to be immersed in sadness all the time. I'll give you one example of that. 9/11, the most tragic thing to happen on our soil, one of the most. There's been many. On 9/12, you couldn't find an American flag to purchase. There just wasn't any more flags. Everybody bought out the American flags, every size. Within a month, within 2 months, within 3 months, those flags started coming down. 6 months later, they were faded and tattered. And 12 months later, the only flags that were still up were the ones that were up on 9/10. Everybody glommed onto a moment and then went back on with their lives. Of course, we had a dirge of those that enlisted and served and wanted to give. But as a nation, we kind of just, it didn't affect us. We just moved on. And so the organization was formed in order to bring public remembrance. The Honor and Remember flag became our mission to bring a national symbol so that we could, as a nation, say thank you to the families that are still here. A way of making a tangible message so that when these families saw this new symbol, it only meant one thing. Thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for giving your loved one for our freedom. And hopefully bring some small piece of healing, minor as it may be, to know that somebody remembered and took the time to remember. If you think about this mission and what we're on right now, it flows perfectly into what we're trying to do. And that is to make sure that no one is forgotten. And what is the best way of remembering anyone? It's by calling their name out loud. That is the very best way of knowing that someone is not forgotten. You know, we hold a lot of names inside. You know, with loved ones we may have lost in the past. But if you think about it, how often have you actually said their name out loud? I find it's very seldom. Think about that. And so we thought as an organization, the best way to make sure that these men and women are not forgotten and their families are still recognized was to gather a comprehensive list of names. We wanted to make sure we found every single fallen service member that died during our war on terror, because this is what we're focused on. This is right now our current place in history. So we went back to October 12th, 2000 with the bombing of the USS Cole. We went back 18 years. And we gathered the names of every service member who died while serving. Didn't matter how they died, as long as they were serving or as a result of serving. Every service member who died even as a result of serving, including those who may have succumbed to those hidden wounds of post-traumatic stress. And we thought we would do something that no one could have thought of, no one could have organized, no one could even conceive of. And we put that list together, started 2.5 years ago. And we compiled a list that right now is over 20,000 service members. 20,000 service members who died while serving or as a result of serving. And another statistic I don't have right in front of me is those that died as a result of serving is a huge number. It's a very huge number. And we recognized that those families needed to be remembered. So we took those 20,000 names, and the best way of organizing them was by their individual unique dates of death. So people say, well, how did you get 20,000 names? How did you get 6,000 miles? This is the picture that I'm painting for you. We took those 20,000 and they came out to between 5,000 and 6,000 unique dates of death. And then chronologically, starting with the USS Cole, we laid a tribute trail across America through 19 states, calling out loud one or more who died on a particular date of death. So there had to be at least one, right? Because we were running unique dates of death. But often, there are multiple names. And we have read as many as 56 names on one day. We okay? So taking those names and chronologically placing them on a trail across America, we are now running for the year 2017. Remember, we started in 2000, and we've been running through, this is our 18th state. We have one more to go, and we have run 5,200 and 54 miles in the last 115 days. And we have called out loud the names of over 19,000 service members out loud. And that live feed that I was telling you about, which has worked most of the time, we've been able to broadcast that message, broadcast the calling out loud of these names to the entire world, so that anybody and everybody, for the first time that I know of, could hear and appreciate what has been given to each one of us, a free gift, right? You've heard the expression, there's only two defining forces in the universe willing to give their lives for you. Jesus Christ for your soul, and the American soldier for your freedom. And that's exactly what each one of these men and women did. So if you haven't watched the live feed, our plan, our machine, if you will, was geared to reverently, respectfully, and consistently honor each one of these men and women in the same fashion, mile after mile, so that families who are watching, who have been watching, and then families who would come would have the same exact experience. And so what we do is our core team, When we have a functioning running group, when I say functioning, I should say complete, when we can carry 4 full-size flags, which is really what we try to do. And we've been able to do that a lot of North Carolina. But we carry 4 full-size flags. We carry the United States flag for obvious reasons. We carry the state flag of the state we're in because we want to make sure we honor that state and those states' heroes. We carry a flag you may not know about. It's called the Honor and Sacrifice flag. It's a flag we established 3 years ago on the 15th anniversary of 9/11 to honor our fallen first responders. It's a flag specifically designed for our fallen police officers and our fallen firefighters. We carry that because we are escorted by law enforcement, whether it be state or county or city. We want to make sure that they know that we haven't forgotten their loved ones, their brothers and sisters. And often we have the fire community with us, meeting us at the end of the day or helping us escort through the lights. So we want to honor them. Even though we're not calling their names out loud or they're fallen, we want them to know that we haven't forgotten. And then we carry the Honor and Remember flag, which literally is our national symbol of remembrance, legislated in 24 states, including North Carolina, to recognize and give tribute to every fallen service member in America in the history of our country, not just during the War on Terror, but we really are running for them all. And along with those 4 flags, we carry a placard that has the names of those who died on that date of death that we're running for. And we carry a set of flags for each one of those heroes. And we run up to a marker location. We come to attention. We ask if there's any Gold Star families present. Sometimes there are. Today, I believe we had 5 families that came to their markers. And once we identify those families or not, sometimes there's nobody there, we then proceed to read our marker. This hero marker is designated in honor of those military service members who gave their lives on this particular day. And then we read the names of each one of those heroes, and we plant a set of flags in the ground to honor each by name individually. And then we come back to a hand salute or hand over our hearts, and then pick up the next placard. If the family is there, hug on them, love on them, appreciate them, thank them, take a picture with them, and then pick up the next placard and move on. Because we have a timetable, and other families may be waiting. And we have done this same ceremony 5,284 times. Reverently and respectfully, mile after mile, for 10 hours a day, for 115 days. The power of reading names out loud. Let me punctuate that. This is a flag that we've carried with us since Fort Irwin, California, 115 days ago on April 7th. If you get up close, you can see what it is from back there. You probably don't know. But this flag is nearly black with the names of fallen service members whose families wrote them on there because they met us on the side of the road somewhere on this journey. The families that were able to take the time to be on a 2-lane road with no shoulder, in the pouring down rain, or in the blistering heat, for us to just come by and conduct our ceremony so that they could hear their loved one's name for 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I don't know how many names are on this flag. We haven't tallied them or counted them. But we hugged every one of them. And we loved every one of them. And there may be 300 names on there, I don't know. But we read thousands more. Thousands more. And if this meant so much to these families that rearranged their schedules and broke open their piggy banks, I don't know. Whatever it took to get to that moment, if it meant that much to them, because they don't need a reminder. Every one of our families is a living reminder. Memorial Day is every day. They don't need a reminder. But what they need to know is that somebody else remembered. And by us being able to forecast where we were going to be and at what time and on what road and shepherd the families to finding us, they were able to come and hear somebody else say their loved one's name. It was that important. How important is it for all of us who did not give a loved one to be appreciative of those that are still here grieving that loss and hoping that somebody remembered? Thanks, Dan. If you are here, a Gold Star family, and have not signed that flag, please do so before you leave it. You don't have to have come to a marker to sign it, just so you know. We might have called your loved one, somewhere else in the country. That's fine. We want to make sure that we've got your name signed on that flag, because we will be taking it to Arlington, which is just 6 days from now. Arlington Cemetery. One of the things that we do at the end of every night at our closing ceremony, and what a great audience we've got here being here with us, is we like to reread, don't like to, we're obligated to reread the names of every one of those men and women that we ran for during the day. Because a lot happened during the day to circumvent the reading of those names. Road noise, pouring down rain, microphone too far from our reader. Could have been a dozen reasons. The signal went down. The families weren't able to watch at that moment when they thought they'd be able to. So many things happened during the day to futz up our plan, that we want to make sure that we, at the end of the day, in a quiet environment, get to reread those names. So we're really not reading 20,000 names across America. We're reading 40,000 names. And so tonight we're going to reread those names. We ran today for 166 service members who gave their lives over 65 dates of death. 65 individual days accounted for 166 fallen service members. And so we're going to read them again tonight. And the second reason we read them is because all of you who are not those family members, some of you are, but most of you are not, get to stand in for all those other names that we're going to read. All those other families that aren't here. you get to stand in for them. And you get to listen to their names as if they are your own. One thing I'm going to ask is everybody silence their cell phones, if you haven't already. I've heard some really crazy ringtones in the middle of really reverent moments. And then I'm going to ask Kristen and her team to come up. And she'll tell you what dates those names were read for.
Edgar, present. Colors.
The dates that we ran for today were March 1st through May 15th of 2017. Sergeant Jacob Lewis Taylor, United States Army. Petty Officer 2nd Class Christopher Daniel Brienza, United States Navy. Sergeant 1st Class James Edward Charlton, United States Army. Specialist Caleb Ray White, United States Army. Sergeant 1st Class Sean Dennis Barnes, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Devin Scott Valad Sr., United States Army. Petty Officer 2nd Class Jeremy Michael Cleary, United States Navy. Sergeant 1st Class Brian Scott Mancini, United States Army. Specialist Marquez Shavante Brown, United States Army. Private 1st Class Malika Darian Jackson, United States Army. Specialist Daniel Jacob Dykstra, United States Army. Private David James Singley, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Alexander Wayne Earls, United States Air Force. Private Tyler James Baker, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Christian Camilo Gilfranco, United States Army.
Senior Airman Tiny Tran, United States Air Force. Captain Thomas F. Walsh, United States Navy. Captain Brian Allen Stillman, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Cody Lee Larson, United States Air Force. Private 1st Class Malika Lachey Reynolds, United States Army. Private 1st Class Brianna Lily Staton, United States Army. A1C John Walter Paragola, United States Air Force. Sergeant Benjamin Timothy Costage, United States Army. Major David Soren Williams, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Matthew Allen Moore, United States Air Force. First Lieutenant Frederick Delicker, United States Air Force. Major Andrew C. Becker, United States Air Force. Captain Kenneth Dalga, United States Air Force. Sergeant Samuel Fleming, Jr., United States Army. Private Marcus Manuel Valera, United States Army. Sergeant Frank Daniel Barber III, United States Army.
Staff Sergeant Arthur Lee Scott, Jr., United States Army. Sergeant Tyler John Vaughn, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 3rd Class Kyle Edward Wogley, United States Army. Sergeant Moreau Zeba, United States Army. Senior Airman Brandon Robert Stanley, United States Air Force. Petty Officer 3rd Class Robert William Marquez, United States Navy. Sergeant 1st Class Robert B. Boniface, United States Army. Sergeant 1st Class Harry G. Green, United States Army. Sergeant Major Timothy J. Rudd, United States Marine Corps. Private 1st Class Eric Andrew Petratus, United States Army. Chief Petty Officer Kara Jean Neese, United States Navy. Sergeant 1st Class Teresa Ann Jones, United States Army. Petty Officer Charles Richard Crockett, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Alexandra May Morrow, United States Air Force. Corporal Jerry DeMott, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Richard Owen Hinkle, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Timothy Vara, United States Army. Corporal Gregory Theodore Miner, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Tyree Malik Green, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Jonathan Garrett Garcia, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Austin Joseph Terrell, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Victor Lorenzo Rodil Bernardinick, United States Navy. Lieutenant Benjamin Thomas Warner, United States Navy. Specialist Stefan Javante Edwards, United States Army. Lance Corporal Spencer Timothy Draper, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer William John Brusso, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Austin Byron, United States Air Force. Lieutenant Colonel Rick Lee Montandon, United States Army. Petty Officer Keith Thomas Brown, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Philip Ray Reynolds, United States Army. Joseph Sani Sawadi Berklayulj, United States Marine Corps. Master Sergeant John Michael Dreskula II, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Johnny Jesus Demed, United States Army. Specialist Tremaine Marcial Lane Jr., United States Army.
Chief Warrant Officer 2, Jose Eduardo Wampas Convena, United States Army. Specialist Christopher Neil Smart, United States Army. Lieutenant Eric Wisely Ferguson, United States Navy. Sergeant Ryan P. Gogan, United States Army. Specialist Riley Chase Gast, United States Army. Sergeant Ryan J. Rever, United States Army. Technical Sergeant John Matthew Johnson, United States Air Force. Sergeant Daniel William Wilman, United States Air Force. United States Army. Staff Sergeant John Woody Cox, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Ronald Buchanan Nelson, United States Air Force. Petty Officer William Matthew Weinrich, United States Navy. Major General Francisco Alberto Espada, United States Army. Corporal Raymond Matthew Henry, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Mark R. De Allen Carr, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Gene Michael Maglory, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 4, Michael Richard Denny, United States Army. Lance Corporal Jackie Ray Koenig, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Aaron Lamb, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Curtis John Gardner, United States Air Force. Fireman Apprentice Nicholas Gabriel Mondo, United States Navy. Specialist Everaldo Naire Graham, United States Army. Specialist Darius Cooper, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Kelsey Tabor Reed, United States Air Force. Sergeant Brandon Raphael Kavanaugh, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Tyler Brady Chatfield, United States Army. Petty Officer Matthew Gerald Elmore, United States Navy. Lieutenant Colonel Tracy Hunter Brown, United States Army. Sergeant Alex Jordan Nittle, United States Army. Tech Sergeant Charles Michael Chance, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Thomas John Gauser, United States Navy. Petty Officer Kevin Patrick Thompson, United States Navy. Private First Class Jacob Anthony Northrop, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Lori Michelle McFarland, United States Army. Corporal Mark Mercado Mambaluo, United States Navy.
Airman Michael Joseph Vecchio, United States Navy. Specialist Folly David Ananu, United States Army. Corporal Jonathan Wade Patura, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer 3rd Class Ryan James Flathammer, United States Navy. Specialist Jeremy Darrell Tomlin, United States Army. Master Sergeant Samuel Aaron Malone, United States Army. Chief Petty Officer Ronnie L. Johnson, United States Navy. Sergeant Peter Lee Newport, United States Army. Private Justin Antoine Lewis, United States Army. Private First Class Tyler Ethan Weschler, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer 3rd Class Shaquille Tivonley Williams, United States Navy. Lance Corporal Cody Everett Miller, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant First Class Roy James Mitchell, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Brandon Mark Bosley, United States Air Force. Private First Class Jeremiah Scott Holmes, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Garrett Chun-Chun Ching, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Jason Christopher Jennings Weens, United States Army. Airman First Class Montel Shane Aline, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Roderick Lee Gorman III, United States Air Force. Seaman Carlos Mazzone, United States Navy. Lieutenant Stephanie Wilson Rayburn, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Michael Joseph Mantenuto, United States Army. Private Brian William Lafayette, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Joseph Mark Satchwell, United States Army. Major Daniel Nayusam Mobit, United States Army. Sergeant Elias Michael Wade, United States Marine Corps. Private Jonathan Alexander Bachler, United States Army. Sergeant Joshua P. Rogers, United States Army. Sergeant Cameron H. Thomas, United States Army. Specialist Timothy Hardin Porter, United States Army. Master Sergeant William Lloyd Ernest, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Jeremy Lee Most, United States Army. Corporal Dylan Tyler Dorr, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer First Class Jonathan Javoria Griffin, United States Navy.
First Lieutenant Weston C. Lee, United States Army. Tech Sergeant Andrew Robert Gage, United States Air Force. Lieutenant Colonel Sean Mortimer Roach, United States Marine Corps. Private Second Class Austin Lee Finley, United States Army. Sergeant Major Robert Alder Fontenot, United States Army. Major Shannon Delane Sparks, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Stephen Michael Cox, United States Marine Corps. Technical Sergeant, Tech Sergeant Horatio Garcia Minchacha, United States Air Force. Lieutenant Corporal Lance Corporal Michael Matthew Cook, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Second Class Butch Douglas Gordon, United States Navy. Tech Sergeant George Eastwood Yates, United States Air Force. Senior Chief Petty Officer Kyle Milliken, United States Navy. Major James Daniel Doyle, United States Army. Master Sergeant Robert Edward Conley Jr., United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Craig Andrew Cup, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Andrew Raymond Woolery, United States Army. Airman First Class Shannon Marie Purcell, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Gia Hin Truong, United States Navy. Cadet Caleb Benjamin Estes, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Louis Lee Moses Small, United States Navy. Petty Officer Third Class Alexander Joseph Sevier, United States Navy. Petty Officer Second Class Joshua Jacob Baker, United States Navy. Lieutenant Junior Grade Richard Lee Lynn, United States Navy. Corporal Corey M. Starklear, United States Air Force, United States Army. Excuse me. Staff Sergeant Mario Corwin Burroughs, Jr., United States Army. Private First Class Bradley Ross Woods, United States Marine Corps. Seaman Dennis Ramon Randolph, United States Navy. Lieutenant Colonel Marie Susan Gallick, United States Army. Staff Sergeant John Michael Bullard, United States Army. Staff Sergeant or Sergeant Terrence Travius Hinton, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Robert Evan Callahan, United States Army. Master Sergeant James Todd White, 4th, United States Army. Lieutenant Commander Jeremy Minor, United States Navy.
$166 service members, over 65 unique dates of death. In order for us to be comprehensive and make sure that we honor all those, regardless of generation, regardless of circumstance, not just during the War on Terror, I'm going to give those who are with us here in the room an opportunity to call a name out loud. Somebody in their generational history. It doesn't have to be this place and this time, this year that we're reading for, but any moment in history of a loved one that you would like to honor with us, with our reading of the names. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that. Just raise your hand, I'll call on you. I'm going to start on this side of the room. Anybody? Yes, sir.
Bob McKell,
Branch?
United States Army.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Arthur Stanley Borden the first.
Branch?
What branch is grandpa? Army.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Joshua Scott Piotrowski, Army.
Thank you. Anyone else on this first table on the left? No? In the middle here. Yes, ma'am.
Remington Jordan Peters, Memorial Day 2017, Navy SEAL.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
John Wesley Calhoun, Navy.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Earl Arthur Reynolds Sr., Army.
Thank you. Anyone else in the middle? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, are you? Okay. Okay. You want to just wait up here and read those? That's fine. Anyone else in the middle? Yes, ma'am.
Sergeant Kyle Thomas. Died Memorial Day last year.
Thank you.
That's my son.
Thank you for his sacrifice. Anyone else in the middle? Here at this table? Yes, ma'am.
Gunnery Sergeant Justin Robert Martoni, 3706 in Iraq.
United States Marine.
United States Marine Corps.
Anyone else at this table? Yes.
Staff Sergeant Travis James Selinsky, U.S. Army, and my father, U.S. Marine, J.L. Cornell.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mildred Warner, Army nurse, U.S. Army, and her husband, Major Donald Warner, U.S. Army.
Thank you.
My father was George Totten in the U.S. Navy.
We had a young man from this community, I think his name's gonna be read later, but Johnny Winburn, Lieutenant, U.S. Army, volunteered to go to Vietnam.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Bonner, U.S. Army, and also Charlie Jernigan, U.S. Army.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Lieutenant Jason Leonard Devil, U.S. Army, June 18, 2004.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My father, Staff Sergeant Perry Gene Wallace, was a Vietnam vet, and he succumbed to lifelong conditions resulting from acorn. He died last year, 3 months before my son, on January 8th.
I'm so sorry. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Gentleman first class, Maxwell Roberts, United States Navy. Killed during World War II in the summer.
Thank you. Thank you. During the summer? Yes, sir, ma'am.
Sergeant Cody Bryan died of injuries related to the war on terror, Army.
Thank you. Jill has some names to read from local service members who gave their lives in various wars.
I don't know their branch of service. World War I. Oh, I do know their branch of service. World War I, Army. Fred Bass, Edward G. Bond, Lynn Bond, Thry Copeland, John W. Morgan, Cecil P. Outland, Ernest L. Twine, Oscar W. White. Navy, Grover Jordan. World War II, Army. Marvin Alexander, George Armstead, Louis A. Bass, Woodrow Berry, Iceberry P. Chappell, William H. Cofield Jr., William I. Cousins Jr., Erie Forehand, Edward Habit, William M. Hurdle, Charlie M. Jernigan, Wesley L. Jordan, Lawson C. Matthews, William N. McLeese, Tenny G. Nixon, Willis Nixon, William H. Wilkins. Navy, Herbert Gray, Alvin Parks, Johnny L. Perry, Woodson Tedderton. Air Corps, Rochelle Blanchard, Herbert Dale Jr., George M. White. Korean War, Army, Melvin C. Copeland, Benjamin F. Twitty. Vietnam War, Army, Louis E. Armstead, Charles W. Hughes, Charlie M. Jernigan, John H. Winburn. Marines, MacArthur Jordan.
Thank you. If we could just bow our heads for a moment of silence in reflection of those names that were read and those that were spoken and those that are yet to be called out on our continued journey to Arlington. Amen. Thank you, guys. One of the things that we are honored to do as often as we can, and you already know that the organization is about national remembrance. We're doing everything we can to drive a message of national remembrance and everything we can to make sure that every family individually is recognized. But we recognize in one more important way, and that is with a personal gift to families. And these gifts come only by request. So any family can make a request and go into the line waiting list, unfortunately, to receive something special from us, which is more precious than anything that we can give. And so we have prepared for two families tonight. And Bill, would you come up? I want you to help me with this. Bill, just hold back. We presented a special flag. It's an honor and remember flag that is hand sewn and specifically prepared. And it's folded, as you see, in a triangle. But it's folded in a triangle because it mirrors the American flag. That is actually part of its symbology, but was taken off of a coffin, folded reverently and respectfully, and presented to the family at the memorial of their loss. Encased in a shadow box as a reminder of a gift from a grateful nation, but also in recognition of that loss. But this flag, the Honor and Remember flag, is folded this way one time. Because once it's unfolded, it really stands as a symbol of appreciation, of thanks, and of a celebration of life. And the great and amazing memories that we still have. And so I would like for the Connolly family to come forward.
This family flew out from Arizona to be here tonight, so you know that this is a very meaningful ceremony for them. This story that I'm about to read is about Master Sergeant Robert E. Connolly, Jr., and these are the words of his wife, Shantae. Robert E. Bobby Connolly, Jr. joined the U.S. Air Force January 13, 1999 as a Security Forces Defender. Bobby served a total of 18 years and 4 months and served his final year in service as a first sergeant at Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. From the beginning, Bobby always led